Let's talk about The Guardian, and you guys have been early on to video as a newspaper, and you have, according to your numbers you shared with me, pretty amazing 5 to 10 million video views. It's incredible. So, tell us a little bit about sort of the, and I know that syndication and social consumption on Facebook is a big part of it for you guys. So, what is the approach to creating video for The Guardian, both editorially and as a business?
Well, we were pretty early into video as a newspaper, as we were, I think, still described then, and we like to think of ourselves as a digital news organisation now, globally. And we set up. It was a very brave thing to do in many ways. Set up a small indie within The Guardian called Guardian Films, which did some groundbreaking investigations and documentaries. Won Emmy Awards and Webby Awards. But that video struggled in a way to find an audience and a home, because we are still, as a desktop site, pretty much a word and pictures site. And so our objective now is to make video as integral to our editorial and commercial success as words and pictures, for all the reasons that the panelists have talked about already. Video is really important for us for three reasons. Firstly, as people's just saying, it's a really good way of storytelling. It's vital to have the video element when you're telling a story in a proper multimedia way, and we're very privileged in a way because we're sort of lumbered with a text heritage, which is extremely difficult to make money out of on the web, and not many people are going to reverse into that. So we've got this great opportunity of starting with text and being able to grow into video with none of these sort of cannibalization concerns that the rest of the panelists were talking about. So, first of all, video is really important for us for storytelling. Secondly, it's really important for us in terms of monetization. As Jeff was saying, we can sort of monetize video pages four or five times as well as we can article pages. But in many ways, the most important reason for us pursuing video is that video gets us into places in the day where we can't reach normally. So, particularly with the advent of connected TV, particularly with tablets, we are able to get into the living room in the evening in a way that we would never have been able to do before. And that, for me, is the most exciting aspect of what we're trying to do with video.
So let me ask you about video that's served into tablets for a newspaper, because there's no headline or text or caption. It's just how do you prepare news video for consumption on a device, which would normally be perhaps published in the context of a news article? Why do people
it still is. I mean, we try to make a distinction between two things. Firstly, the video that is going to enhance our cross-media storytelling, and that's going to sit with the site, and that's going to sit within browser on your, and already does on your iPad. So if you go on today to guardian.co.uk, you will be able to see Leveson with David Cameron speaking there live. You'll be able to see some animations, some quite entertaining animations of the histories of the football teams taking place in the Euros. You'll be able to see full versions of the opera we live streamed from Glyndebourne last year. All of those things are on that site in the context of the Guardian.co.uk website. What we need to think about moving towards is what does a standalone video presence look like for the Guardian on devices, particularly the TV, to an extent the tablet, where people are used to just getting video, completely divorced from the context of the article, and the requirements of that kind of video are very, very different. Clearly, it needs to be higher quality, it needs to be longer in form. There needs to be more format around it, because you don't have, to the point earlier, we can't just take as we would do online, we can't just take something from Reuters and subtitle it and stick it up there. It has to have some context. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end in a sort of classical sense. And that's a bit of work that we're doing at the moment, and we plan to do more particularly on TV and tablet later this year.
Cool. How would you characterize the editorial approach to creating video? The role of your reporters, producers. Is it sort of to amplify the reporting or the personalities, to provide more depth to the beats that you're covering, and give us sort of, I mean, everybody has a little bit of a different flavor, I find, of newspapers. How would you describe the Guardian's editorial approach?
It's also, to be frank, it's within newspapers there are different approaches. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the way that we will use agency footage to enhance news stories, that's where the video helps to tell the story, where you need the video to tell the story. We will obviously cut that and put it onto the side. That's quite different from culture. If we're looking at culture, we wouldn't put just a random clip of an interview of someone up against an article. There you're trying to create a discrete short form programme which either tells the story of the art exhibition opening, or is or actually in many cases for us is a live performance. So we'll do sort of 3-minute pieces by artists shot in our studios. The area that Pete talked about earlier, which we're really trying to sort of pioneer on as well, is working with brands on areas that are beyond what we would call sort of our core editorial mission, which is really around sort of news and investigations. Working with brands to create content that will pay its way from the get-go and will help those brands tell a story, but in a way that is still absolutely in line with our editorial values. So we've done recently, in fact, it's Cannes Lion next week, and there's one of the pieces of work we did with Cobra, which is up for a Cannes Lion next week. That was a very, very simple concept. Cobra wanted to tell the story of modern India. They funded some fantastic films being produced in India. We exec produced them and made sure that they were consistent with the kind of storytelling we would like to do, and they played with an editorial on the Guardian site because it was what the travel editor would have wanted. And that's a really kind of, you can create these very happy synergies between what a brand wants to do and a story that a news organisation would want to tell.
One last question. Tell us about how you use Facebook. And I know you're one of the early users of Open Graph. Just give us a little update on Facebook.
Well, we've got 6 million users of our Facebook app. And when we put video within that app, which would have been in about January, I was a very happy man, because the numbers that we got coming back for our video views on the site, not just on Facebook, just leapt extraordinarily. And the way that our app works is that if you're reading an article or watching a video within the app, that appears on your friend's timeline. We saw as a result of that sort of increases in our on-site traffic of about sort of 50% to 100%, depending on the day.
I'm sorry, the player is on your site, or
no? The player's on Facebook, but then the referrals back. So
it's your same player.
Yeah. So it was an app. So it's a really interesting case of where you might think that there's a potentially big cannibalization problem, and actually there's not, because you're just reaching very, very different audience.
How did the traffic come off the video back to the Guardian website?
Well, in many cases there was sort of a link back, so it would link back, and it's in some cases, depending on the environment people were looking at it in, they would want to go to the Guardian site to watch it.
Right.
Anyway. Since we kicked that off and saw some phenomenal growth, and it's quite interesting, the videos that did do well tended to be the things that one would expect to do well virally. So it's quite interesting discussions internally about, is that what we're about? Is it the catchy sort of woman fall through pavement in China video? Is that the kind of thing that we're there to do? Is an interesting question. But more recently, there's been a slight modification in the way that Facebook display those that information within the feeds, and we've seen that drop down a little bit. But there's no doubt that embracing social, particularly Facebook, embracing YouTube, is a direction that any publisher has to go down, because that's where people are consuming video.